How many of your goals did you achieve this year? 1, 2, 0? Whatever the answer may be, clearly you've not had the year that you were looking for, and you're not alone in this. A lot of people around the new year get into the state of mind that the next year will be the year where everything turns around. You'll have all the productivity in the world, you'll have all the motivation to do everything that you could possibly want, you'll achieve all of your goals, and your life will simply be better. But with every year that passes, it ends in disappointment. I've been there plenty of times, and I feel like I'm still in a similar state. But for the first time in a long while, things are changing for the better for me. And all of it boils down to a strategy that I've been using over this past year. Naturally, most self-help gurus will gatekeep this strategy. They would hype the crap out of it and try to sell it to you through a book or a very expensive course or coaching services. But I'm not like that. Instead, I'd rather share it with all of you guys in a video that you can access for free. So if you're tired of that loop and you want to be more serious about your own goals, stick around and I'll share the precise details of this strategy. Although it all boils down to just 3 things: a shift in your mindset, a better approach to setting goals, and how you work towards those goals. Regardless, it does change the game forever. Your mindset is everything in self-improvement, and it's especially so in goal setting and goal achieving. And while keeping a positive attitude is crucial, some gurus can skip over even some of the more tinier and subtler details of avoiding negativity. For example, the fast-paced hustle culture mindset can actually be sabotaging you in even more tamer circumstances. As I've talked about in the past, the overall hustle culture brain rot mindset isn't all that sustainable. What with conflicting advice, way too much hype, and a very narrow mindset to wrap it all up. But even in the more tamer parts, you can still see some of that unreasonableness and how it can influence a more negative mindset towards striving for goals.
It doesn't just work.
Things like if you're finding excuses, that could just be a sign that you're not passionate enough or you don't genuinely care about that particular thing. Or that you're undisciplined if you end up trying something for a few weeks and end up relapsing later on. These sorts of notions create a self-fulfilling prophecy and self-sabotaging tendencies that really shouldn't be there. And I say this because this thinking is absolute bullshit from my own experiences. Looking at my own weight loss journey, just because I've relapsed plenty of times with going to the gym and losing weight doesn't mean that I'm not passionate enough or I'm not interested in looking after my own body and taking care of my health and improving it. My more recent roadblocks have much more to do with other outside factors that impede my own weight loss journey, such as having to work longer hours to make rent. Even that implication that maybe I'm doing something wrong because of my multiple attempts is something that's more manipulative than actually helpful. Unless what you're doing is expressively harmful to other individuals, that line of thinking is just more gaslighting than practical. I'm not complaining at all about my own situation and the problems that I'm facing here. But that kind of mindset just tends to come from those with more privileged positions, and it leads to just more regressive thinking and less proactive action, in my opinion.
I understand.
If you really want to be achieving your goals, you need to be working through those particular notions and seeing them for what they really are. Shame tactics that don't motivate you and keep you stuck in a loop than actually solving the problem and being a better person. The idea with this step is to condition yourself to at least try something out, regardless if this is your first, second, or fifth attempt. And the next steps I have will make trying anything stupidly simple to do. Right out the door, when it comes to goal setting and actually achieving your goals, a lot of gurus will immediately focus on giving you a very strict system. Some will recommend SMART goals, for example, and some might even be cheekier and suggest smarter goals, where the ER portion just gives you more time to reflect on your goals and evaluate them, which, I mean, sure, but it's only a marginal improvement from an otherwise bad system that doesn't really work all that well.
That's not good enough!
Others will talk about how you should get a vision board or have a detailed action plan or simply to commit to whatever you're doing and just hustle hard and not think about the details. And that's the first mistake that a guru makes. Not because these strategies are not tried and tested or anything like that, as people do find some of those things actually useful and they do actually see success off of these systems, but because when you're first getting into goal setting and growing as an individual, having that level of structure is just more of a distraction than an effective system that you can just plug yourself into and just do the things that you need to be doing. Those kinds of strict systems lead to a more binary type of thinking where you either succeed at something or you fail. And it doesn't leave much room for introspection or reflection, even when you have steps where that sort of thing is encouraged to do. It creates just these more negative mindsets and negative tendencies I just talked about. If you're using those systems, you're more likely setting yourself up for failure than actual success, and you're more likely to think the problem is with you and your mindset if you end up failing and not that the timing is off or that the strategy itself is just flawed. And if you do happen to succeed with these janky systems, you're lacking other crucial parts to growing, and you will hit a ceiling and have no clue how to overcome it because you lack those kinds of things that come from just exploring and being curious and not having very structured plans to go with.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Of course, I can't tell you when is the right time to use those specific strategies. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm just a guy on the internet. However, from my own experiences, having vague plans of a system is better at the very start of something, rather than having a very specific format and very specific structure when it comes to your goals setting and achieving them. The idea here is to just have the bare minimum to take action on your goals and explore, rather than having a very guided and very railroad path for yourself. And a good example of this is just looking at my own channel and how far it has gotten since I started reviving it. I didn't really come up with much of a strategy beyond just looking at other people's videos and enjoying their kind of format and editing style and wanting to kind of emulate that. Even now, after working on this channel for some time now, I still kind of don't have much of a plan or a very specific strategy in mind. But really, my big strategy right now is just some to-do list tasks that I have, some very specific benchmarks, and an Excel spreadsheet to keep everything all together. It's not an overly sophisticated plan, and that's kind of the point here. I'm doing this because I want to and I enjoy it, and I have these very specific tools that just help with enabling that and just getting the bare minimum going. And I believe that the early days of pursuing a big goal should really be looking something like that for everyone. You need that fluidity in your life because in those early stages, making sure everything goes perfectly just isn't realistic. Deliberating extensively only creates analysis paralysis and little to no action. So having just a very simple structure that you can just put yourself through and just covers the bare bones is more than enough to get yourself going and to start building up the framework for more discipline for yourself. Getting into more detail about what this vague system should really look like, the theme you should go for with goal setting and goal achieving is brevity and simplicity. This ultimately helps with just building up that discipline and narrowing your focus as you keep going towards your goal. What this looks like in practice really just is focusing on one area of your life at a time and making the first step as simple as possible.
That was easy.
For example, if you want to be losing weight next year, make that target realistic for you. Start with telling yourself that you want to be losing 30 or 40 pounds within a year. But within that, you start to break that down in a very specific and deliberate way. Over the course of a full year, the target looks like you're losing 3 to 4 pounds every single month. If you narrow that down even further to a week-by-week basis, the goal here is to be losing a pound to a pound and a half every single week, roughly. The idea here is that just by breaking everything down, you take a large goal and you break it down into just bite-sized pieces that are a lot easier to manage and doesn't feel as overwhelming for you. Not to mention, it's a lot easier to convince yourself to go out and do whatever it is that you need to be doing in order to get those results, because losing 30 to 40 pounds sounds a lot harder than just saying, hey, go out for a walk, and if you lose a pound or a pound and a half over the course of this week, then great.
Nice.
But beyond breaking your own goals down to more manageable tasks, another good incentive that you can be using is leveraging micro actions. And the beauty of micro actions is they can apply in all kinds of parts of your life, and you can apply it for anything. Say, for example, you want to be publishing a book next year. Your micro action isn't to give yourself very strict deadlines on completed chapters. It's opening up that document and looking at it while thinking about what you want to be writing about. Micro actions are essentially the building blocks and will help you with building up your own discipline and your focus and just creating a habit for yourself. And you can do all of that stuff by just figuring out what sort of micro actions you can take to get yourself going. Personally, I've reached a point where merely just asking myself about a particular thing can get me to take that action and start seeing results from that. At the end of the day, you really want to be building discipline, and this feels like a more natural building block to building discipline that I mentioned. But the other kicker here is that once you build it up in one area of your life, you can obviously transfer all of that knowledge to other parts of your own life. The final strategy that really just binds all of this stuff together really comes down to just a simple mantra: build momentum. Because at the end of the day, no matter how detailed your plan is or how tried and true the methods that you're using are, there really isn't a way to guarantee success that these strategies will work for you. Life is unpredictable and uncertain.
Surprise, motherfucker.
As a result of that, it pays to just have some backup plans and some contingency plans in mind. And it's where the whole build momentum thing really comes in. If you failed an attempt, the two main questions that you should be asking yourself is, did I make more progress than before? And did I at least try to solve the problem that I'm dealing with? Ask yourself plenty more questions around failure for sure, as that is going to be very helpful and you do need that introspection. But as long as you've been building that momentum and are at least trying, then that's at least a silver lining in all of this whole experience. It's easier to push back against those ideas that you're a failure or that the strategy is bad if you can point to some specific improvements, even if they're just slight ones at this point in time. Beyond that, building momentum is just a reminder that making big decisions or changing your life in a dramatic way can happen at just about any point in your own life. It's like the saying goes with planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. Even if you should have started earlier, or have people or yourself critiquing you for trying something new at this point in your life, it doesn't mean that it's a bad decision. It is a bad one if what you're doing is wrong or hurting people, but I'm going to presume that what we're all trying to do here is to our own benefit and helpful to other people and doesn't really hurt people. At the end of the day, it's really just their own opinion, and it doesn't really matter when it comes to your own life that we're talking about here. And embracing that can allow us to reflect more and figure out what is actually wrong and what we can actually do to improve and make some adjustments and build momentum so much better than last time. This strategy is by no means a perfect and flawless strategy, but I think it addresses a lot of the specific issues that a lot of gurus fall into when talking about goals and achieving them for people. Things aren't as straightforward as following a step-by-step guide or consuming a bunch of motivational content to hype yourself up. There's nuance and context, and the last thing that you want is a hyper-focused strategy that is being sold to you aggressively. If we want to be more practical and make setting and achieving goals healthier and more realistic, we need to be more explorative and reflective, and our goals should embody that. Be more methodical with your goals and ask yourself the goal's significance in your own life. Try out different approaches every few weeks until you find one that feels good for you and is giving you the results that you are looking for, or at least vaguely. Continue to explore the area and industry with a childlike curiosity. Because setting goals and working towards them shouldn't be these things that you can just achieve by just hustling hard or having a very strict mentality. Goals ought to be challenging in certain aspects in the difficulty of the task itself, but also shift your mindset, your attitude, and your habits as well. Goals ultimately change people. And if you really want next year to be your year, you'll want to be having a strategy that can put you through a genuinely life-changing experience. And with this strategy, I think that you can get there. After all, I can see improvements in my own life after using this particular strategy for this past year and adopting just those exact same things that I talked about. Thank you guys so much for watching the entirety of this video. It would really mean a lot to me if you left a like on this video and also subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the future.